Congratulations to the Women's Ordination Conference for 45 years of keeping the dream alive. God's dream for the full inclusion of women in every ministry in our church. You have kept the dream alive despite the efforts of several popes and bishops and other Catholics to keep you silent and exclude you. You have shown amazing faith and persistence, and you keep going. Thanks be to God. Thank you for keeping alive our hope for a church that practices its deepest convictions about love, inclusion, and equality. My name is Luke Hansen, and I'm a Jesuit priest and a chaplain at Xavier University in Cincinnati, Ohio. And in my studies at the Pontifical Gregorian University in Rome, which I finished a year ago, I wanted to take up a question that I hope would make a small but important contribution to the movement for women's equality in our church. I'm grateful that WAC has asked me to share about my thesis and what I learned in my research. I wrote about the authority of Pope John Paul II's apostolic letter, Ordinatio Sacerdotalis, published in 1994. We know too well the terrible consequences of that letter. It has been used by bishops and others to say that our church cannot ordain women, will never ordain women, and that we cannot even discuss it. It has hovered over our church like a dark cloud, causing fear, silence, and a sense of hopelessness, which continue even today. The Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith has even said that this doctrine has been set forth infallibly by the ordinary and universal magisterium, the teaching authority of the world's bishops. If this is true, then what hope is there for change? My thesis was a deep dive into John Paul's apostolic letter, its context, content, and authority. And here are my main takeaways. I learned that there are criteria in the Church's tradition to evaluate whether a doctrine can be understood as infallibly defined, to give that kind of assurance to the faithful. A doctrine must be founded on the Word of God and taught constantly in the tradition. The world's bishops must be in agreement and teach it authoritatively. And there needs to be a shared sense of faith among believers that this doctrine is an authentic part of the apostolic faith. So how does the doctrine of male-only priesthood stand against these four criteria? It fails on every point. A critical reading of Scripture has challenged long-held interpretations of certain passages. A critical reading of the tradition shows that this doctrine is founded upon beliefs we now reject: the natural inferiority of women and their natural subjugation in the social order. Third, there is no consensus among the faithful. In fact, majorities of Catholics in countries like Argentina, Brazil, France, Italy, Spain, and the United States support the ordination of women. Finally, there is no consensus even among the world's bishops concerning this doctrine and its authority. This was perhaps the most surprising and most hopeful part of my research. I documented several public statements by bishops that have questioned or even outright challenged the authority of this doctrine. For bishops' statements prior to 1994, I am indebted to the scholarship of Mary Jeremy Dagler, author of the book Incompatible with God's Design: A History of the Women's Ordination Movement in the U.S. Roman Catholic Church. Dagler tells the stories of several American bishops who supported the movement including Charles Buswell and Francis Murphy, who each attended national gatherings of the Women's Ordination Conference. Even though Pope Francis has stated his opposition to women priests, he has encouraged a more synodal and listening church, which has created an environment in which many bishops again feel empowered to speak up about women's ordination. When Francis said the door is closed to women priests, Bishop Erwin Krautler responded, "As long as a door is there, it should be open." Cardinal Reinhard Marx said he told Francis, "The discussion is not over." In March 2019, a Vatican News headline announced, "Women priests, the discussion is in the room," quoting Bishop Franz Jung. Cardinal Joseph de Kessel said he hopes that women are ordained as priests. Archbishop Pablo Puente said, quote, "We cannot tolerate this flagrant discrimination against women by the Church." Before his death, Bishop Francis Quinn of Sacramento said he believes the Spirit is calling women to be deacons and priests. I'm drawing attention to the statements of bishops because, as I said earlier, in order for a doctrine to be understood as infallible, according to the ordinary and universal magisterium, the world's bishops must be in agreement and teach it authoritatively. That is clearly not the case. When John Paul II issued his apostolic letter, he had not consulted the people of God or even the world's bishops. That's what we need today. A Spirit-led process of discernment in which the entire people of God are encouraged in freedom and boldness to share God's dream for our church. Your voices need to be heard, for it has been the Spirit that has inspired and guided the work of Women's Ordination Conference for 45 years. I pray we all continue to keep God's dream alive and to keep hope alive. This work, through the Spirit, will bear abundant fruit in our church and our world. Thank you, and God bless.